Okay, so today's project is going to be replacing the barrel in the Umarex TR50 Generation 2 50 caliber revolver. We're going to be replacing it with the tuning barrel that they offer. Should be slightly longer, the tuning barrel, and then of course you have an extension as well. Actually, it goes this way, and an extension. It was, yeah, we'll take the measurements anyways once we get the original barrel out. So we'll be doing that next. Let me take this grip off and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Got the grip off the gun. There are a total of 15 screws. They're very small that you'll need to remove from here. I do believe it's, let me check it out here. Oh, that is too pointy. Number 0 Phillips is too pointy. I think it's going to be a number 1. Let's try the number 1. There we go. Yep, number 1. Just be sure to apply a decent amount of downward pressure so you don't strip the screws out. These are much smaller, as we've seen on the Mercury Rise TR50 torpedo. They use much larger screws. Okay, so just want to take the screws out. They're very, very small, and I would recommend putting them on a magnetic, something that's magnetic so you don't lose them. If you have one of these little telescopic magnets, that can be handy to pull them out once you loosen them up. And then you could just leave them on there too so you don't lose them. You don't want to lose them. They're very small. I don't know how easy it is to outsource them locally, these type of screws. However, I did find them on rockstar.com, Rockstar Tactical. They do sell these screws, like a $1.50 a piece or something. A little pricey, but beggars can't be choosers. If you can't find it anywhere else, then that might be your best bet. So just like that, comes in handy. And you just want to work your way around carefully, being careful not to strip these little screws out. Like that. Once you get it started, you can power it off. There you go. All right, so basically that's what you're going to do until all 15 screws are out. I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. This way we can keep the video a little shorter this time. Okay, I'm back. So I removed all the screws but one because I wanted to draw your attention to this screw. The one here that is directly above the mock cylinder, the faux cylinder here of the revolver. It is the only one that I found that is longer than the rest. So I'm going to put them on a mat right here. Okay, I think there was 15 screws. You can see how that one's substantially longer. So don't mix this up. Okay, this one here, oh, let's use the magnet. They are tiny. This screw right here goes right here. Okay, right there. So when you reassemble it, make sure that you don't put this somewhere else because it's too long from, I mean, it's possible you might be able to force it through another spot, but you want to be careful of that. Okay, so I think that'll be the first one I put back, so I'll leave it on the magnet. All right, blow that out of there. Anyways, the easiest way to open up the Umarex TR50, or for most of these markers anyways, is just kind of pry it on a little bit from the handle here where the CO2 goes in. And just, if you do need a tool, if yours is really tight, mine's been off a couple times already because I ended up modifying and adding a rear ASA adapter, buttstock adapter. Also, the fiber optic sights on the back, the front one's not a problem. It stays on one half of the clamshell. This one here, you can either pull it out of here with a pick if you want, put it back in later, or most of the time I forget about it and it'll stay on one side like that. No big deal. You might have to take it out when you go to reassemble it. Now, I just put that half aside. All right, some differences between the Umarex TR50 and the Mercury Rise TR50 torpedo. There are many differences. The safeties are different. The torpedo has a true safety, what I'd call a true safety, rather than just a trigger safety. The axle, what do we call this? The axle, the axle rod here. It has a spring to it, but it's not like the other one. It's not like the torpedoes, where the torpedo has an addition of like a plastic piece, or almost like a follower type thing, like you see in magazines. So with this, but we still have a spring-loaded barrel, see, and it sits into these plastic dowels. So just carefully lift it out. Of course, it's gonna be oily. A lot of times it's oily. Oh, there we go. Just kind of lift it out of the way there, and there's your barrel. Okay, factory metal barrel. There's your barrel spring. All right, here's the tuning barrel with the thicker tuning spring, and it also has an anti-rotation piece on that tuning barrel as well, this way, that you don't have on the factory, because you don't need it on the factory barrel. It's not threaded for any extensions. Again, your axle spring assembly, and this one's actually metal, so it's better quality. The one on the torpedo was plastic, but that's metal. I've actually replaced this once already because I think it was a bad spring. But so you want to put that aside, and before we put that in there, let's do some comparison here. So on the factory barrel, we have, it's about 10, let's see, 10 centimeters, 10 millimeters. So it's like, all right, let's see what it is in inches here. It's like just a little over 4 inches, like four and 3/8. It looks like 4 and 3/8 long. Whereas the tuning barrel for the TR50, from where it goes into the breech here, is about 4 and 3/4 on the, right on the button there, 4 and 3/4. So what's that, a half inch? A little bit more than a half inch, I guess. So even without the extension, the tuning barrel is, a little over half inch longer. So that's cool. So we got some length there. Plus we also have the extension that we'll be able to put on there as well. So this barrel, just like on the TR50 torpedo, will sit right in here. Okay, and it's designed to kind of float. It's got a spring that keeps it so that it can bounce back and forth. This way you don't lose any air pressure as the cylinder turns. So you just want to sit it back into its dowels. I can do this carefully. We don't let dowels are only plastic, so you want to be gentle with them. And on this one, it looks like, it's the first time I've ever done one of these, but it looks like there's already a groove cut out, space cut out for that little cam looking lever. All right, and then the spring, you push the spring back, and boy, that goes so much smoother than it did when I tried to fit this tuning barrel into the torpedo. All right, that's another video, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it already, but I did actually try to put this TR50 tuning barrel kit into my TR50 torpedo, and there was not any provision in here, any space for this anti-rotation piece. So, like I was saying in that video, if you wanted to use it, you'd probably have to mill it down and not have the use of that. Now the spring is stiffer, which is good. But you want a stiffer spring because the longer you make this barrel, some guys have it way out there, and they wonder why they have trouble with the cylinder rotating. You know, you got to get a stiffer spring. This spring, this barrel's designed to float. So, which I'll show you that once we get it back together, because right now it's probably gonna fall apart if I try to move it. So this looks like there's ample room in there for it. All right, so sometimes to assist, if you can't get the spring on by it, sometimes it can be helpful to have a pick handy to pull the spring back, but I didn't seem to have any trouble. Just want to make sure that that spring sits right in here on the plastic. Right on the over here and right over here, so that it can operate freely and float around and move as it needs to. Your drum axle and drum axle spring, and again, this one's like some kind of die cast metal. This pot here, this longer pot's going to drop in here. Now, and it doesn't have a follower. That's one thing that was kind of nice about the TR50 torpedo is the drum axle had a follower on it, but maybe you need it with that one. You don't with this one, right? Just kind of lift up on this a little bit. You don't have to pull it completely away from the dowels, but just lift up on it a little bit. After doing so, make sure it operates freely. Okay, and you want your square pot facing you. The round pot will be facing the other side, like this. And then you just put this, it's kind of hollowed out, just put the spring in there. Make sure it's set in there, and work it around a couple of times, make sure it works. Yeah, it seems to work fine. All right, now after you've done all that, make sure that this spring hasn't moved on you, okay? It doesn't look like it has. In fact, if I hold this in there, see if I can, yeah, it moves freely, but we'll check it again once we get the clamshell on. All right, and that's basically it. There's not a heck of a lot that you need to do on that. So now we can put the other side back on. Everything's in there. Don't want to rush with this. Want to be gentle. You don't want to break anything. All right, so before I put the screws in, I'm just going to make sure that this barrel does move. You can do it one or two different ways. Okay, you can either get your finger in here while you hold this down, like this. A little tight. Just make sure it moves freely. Okay, the spring's pushing it back in. That's what makes your seal on each cylinder, on the cylinder holes there where your rounds are. If that doesn't move freely, you can also pull on it. Probably easier to do that. Hold this and just pull on it. You'll see that it moves. Let me get my hands out of the way. So you can see that. Okay, should move nice and freely. A good heavy spring in there too. It feels really good and tight. And you need that because you're going to have an extension on here. Who knows, you may even find a longer extension than that. It adds weight, so you don't want a weak spring. Okay, so once you know all this works good, free, no problem, then see, that pops in pretty easy, no big deal. You could leave it on there, just do that. If you leave it on there, you don't have to worry about it bouncing around, hitting the floor, and you losing it. Once you know that that's all set to go, it's that easy, very simple. It's almost plug and play. Then you just put your screws back in. Again, I'm going to start with this one here, which is the one screw that's long. It goes right over where your full back cylinder is. So I'm going to start with this one. So there's no chance I can mix it up. I would recommend always starting the screws by hand. Resist the urge to power them down with a powered screwdriver. But once you know you got them started, you're not going to strip things out. It probably wouldn't hurt to power it down. Just snug them up though. Once you get them all the screws installed, then you can go back around and tighten them down fully the rest of the way. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do that off camera and I'll be right back. Okay. Now that I got all the screws tightened down, like I said, just start with this one first, the longest one. That's right over the mock cylinder. And then put the rest of the screws in, just snug them up, and then go around and do your final tightening. Just be careful to put good downward pressure so you don't strip out the screws. As you can see, the fiber optic rest site, not a big deal whether you want to take it out first or leave it on one half of the clamshell. It just pops right back in. It's pretty easy. This side stays captive on one side. Just go around and make sure that you don't have any openings. Both halves of the clamshell should be, yeah, you shouldn't see any large openings. Just make sure, especially around the handle area, flex it a little bit. Make sure everything's good and tight. And then what you want to do is make sure that everything operates, right? We'll make sure that this goes back and operates properly. And most importantly, or just as important, is you want to pull on the tuning barrel. Just put your hands on the threads, your fingers, and make sure it pulls back, swings back, okay? And it goes back into place and moves freely like that. Okay? That feels good. And that spring's nice and stiff, so you know it's not going to be a problem with the extra weight of this barrel, or for that matter, even if you ended up putting one of those longer sniper barrels that I think they sell out there somewhere. All right, and then you have the last piece you just screw on. This is your tuning barrel extension. And you just screw that baby on, and on, and on. And that's it. Got some oil on it. Again, hold out nice. And there you go. You can put your cylinder mag in. I gotta put my red grip back on, but I'll wrestle with that off camera. That literally you gotta wrestle with it. And then I also have the modification for the rear ASA adapter, buttstock adapter. So I'm gonna put this back on with my on-off valve, and then I can shoot it with a 2 × 12 gram, or I can put a 90 gram or 88 gram on here, or I can choose to put high pressure air. Oh, looks good and tight. Most of these things you just go hand tight, right? That's about it. I like having this on and off. This way I can control once I puncture things. I can go ahead and once I puncture the cylinder, I can control it. But you don't have to have that on there. This blue adapter, I've been asked before by people, oh, what is that? You know, that blue adapter. Well, unfortunately, I found out the hard way that with this particular buttstock, ASA buttstock adapter that I got from ZRAM overseas, apparently the thread on this side, this is M13. I forget what this is, but it's a type of thread that's more common, I guess, in Europe. So I had to have this adapter on there. I couldn't just put either one of these directly on here. So I did order another one from within the United States to replace this, and so that I can delete this piece. But yeah, I guess that's the way ZRAM ships them. They're like that, and yeah, I was able to work around by putting this piece on, but it took me a while to figure it out. So, but that's it. That is your tuning barrel, TR50 tuning barrel. So next we'll be shooting it and see if we can see what we get for any gains. I mean, I would imagine we're definitely going to see some gains in feet per second, some increases. And along with that, some joule increases. So that is my TR50. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it's educational, and if not, at the very least, entertaining. Peace out.